Hey guys, it's RivaThames. Today we're back on the Battlefront with some more testing. This week we're looking at comparisons, cool features and online examples of previous tactics. So starting off with the topic of the video, of course, how can you play Palpatine if he's not even in the game? Basically what DICE did was create a switch in the code that if anything bad was to happen to a hero, they can remove it from live servers. But this doesn't include offline, so you can play as Palpatine offline in arcades and he's still in the game. Of course this will purely be on the fun side of things and you won't earn anything as you're offline. But I think it's good to mention as you guys may want to play as the Emperor. Plus it gives an opportunity to inspect him, look at the star cards, again in the menus, a nice way to see Palpatine back in the game without actually having him online. So disconnect yourself from the internet or your Wi-Fi and you can play as Palpatine offline in arcades and see him in the menus. Next, which ability makes the player run faster? Vanguard or Infiltration? Now I tested this out by making a start and finish line with the blaster in Bespin and timed both classes running it. Turns out they're exactly the same speed. Both made the lap in just over 4 seconds and it's the same speed. I guess this will be good in multiplayer as you can chase down a Vanguard or Infiltration player knowing that they won't go out of your sight. In last week's series I spoke about how Rey can get unlimited insight if she continues to activate her insight after striking, and a comment suggested if it was possible with Darth Vader since his rage ability gives unlimited stamina as well, and this doesn't work for him it seems. I think because the way it works for Rey is that you can initially turn insight on or off whenever you want, but you can't do that with Vader. It stays active for the whole time, so it wouldn't register as it's being triggered. Not a massive deal because Vader is already as strong as he is, but I thought I'd clarify it doesn't work for Vader but does for Rey. So here's some examples of previous tests that I've been using in multiplayer matches. How Luke can use the force push to reach higher heights. I use this to get over the Endor wall. There's no entrance on this side of the map, so it was unsuspecting for the enemy team. You can see this Darth Vader and the ATST had no idea and had no expectation that I was going to come over from this side. I managed to fight with Vader as well and got the victory. A good example of how it can be effective to benefit you, even if it means you're not using your force push for an elimination. Use it for better yourself and, do something like this. Also, when blocking when walking into Phasma's droids will stop you getting shocked. I managed to deflect everything back at Phasma when she was firing at me and even looked like she was panicking in this situation. Continued to run away to the point where we was out of the droids and couldn't attack us and she couldn't attack us anymore. Another cool example of how to use the tactics I share in this video. Now taking a break from the video for a second, I got a funny clip. I pushed Phasma off the Death Star. She thought she was safe, but...
Oh, I don't think so.
And I got some nice lighting in Starkiller Base and it made the Flame Trooper look like it had black armor. Now how cool does this look? Just imagine skins for Enforcers or Aerials. That would be so cool. I understand that may not be canon, but regardless, it looks awesome. But speaking of the Flame Boy, I'll give you a quick overview of why it's good and when you should use it. I've had comments saying it's bad or whether it needs a buff, and nope, not for me. The Flame Trooper should only be used indoors for me, close quarters as the flames doesn't reach that far, and you have the potential to hit a lot of enemies. Basically, the way the flame works is that you don't need to fire it all on one guy. The flame will continue damaging over time, and if you hit them a little, you may even end up with an elimination. So there's no need to be aggressive as you can pretty much stand in a door or entranceway and fire off your flame to stop them coming through. One of the most underrated classes for me, but I see a lot of people using it out in the open in Takodana Galactic Assault. Well, it's not going to be very easy to do anything in the open with a flamethrower. You want to wait until you're inside the castle, as well as Starkiller Base when you're inside station. Just wait for those close quarters engagements and trust me, you're going to be picking this Flame Trooper a lot more often. Next, Iden star cards. Which one is better, acquire target or target reach? Basically the difference is one will increase the range of the droid finding targets, and the other will increase the range of shocking between targets. And I've tested it, but doesn't look like the acquire targets has any difference in range. I hope it's just not showing visually and not a bug, but regardless, shock reach is by far better in my opinion. You can ultimately have one guy here, another here, and the shock will chain between them because since you have this star card on, the range is actually increased between your shocks. Without it, the chain may have not reached that far. So shock reach is the one you want to be going for. But that's not my ideal setup. I go for the two blaster focus ones, firing off secondary fire faster and more frequently, plus each shock of the droid will grant you health. That's the ideal set for me in most games, especially in Heroes vs Villains where you can basically spam secondary fire. Back on Yoda, I mentioned how using presence and dashing or jumping could skip the animation of his presence. But using this won't actually grant your teammates the additional health, only yourself. You can see passing the animation will grant this heavy, but if you use it with a dash, it does not. Which is unfortunate, so keep in mind that you should focus on healing your teammates if you pick Yoda in Galactic Assault, more so than using this trick. But it's definitely something you guys want to be keeping in mind for Hero Showdown and Heroes vs Villains if you're in a tough 1v1 for example. Can Bossk's Dioxis grenades damage the generators on Crate? And dude, I was so close to getting there. I was with Bossk on Crate, but unfortunately I just got defeated as we reached that stage. But I have some pretty good objective gameplay to show you that I at least tried, so I will try this again. I'm pretty sure that it will not, because it will probably work the same as a tank. Like an acid launcher on an AT-AT for example, it's not going to do anything. But I will try again for next week. But I've managed to get an example of Boba Fett getting stunned when in midair. You can see the stun is all over me, but I can still move around, so I guess it doesn't apply to Boba Fett stunning him out of the air. It would have been cool, it would have looked very cool, but now I can focus on getting something else. Unfortunately it doesn't work, but not much you can do about that. Now, does Big Deal increase the max amount of health you can regenerate? Now, it's a no, basically, and I think where you're getting this from is Big Deal gives you the impression that you're earning extra health after you have regened all of it, basically. And this is because when you activate Big Deal, you're actually given 120 extra health. So it gives you the impression that you'll have more health, but instead it's just boosted it for amount of time. After Big Deal has run out, you'll see that your max amount of health will go back to normal. You can't regen extra health by using Big Deal, that's not a feature with Finn unfortunately. But something that you should keep in mind for Finn is that using Big Deal will actually speed up his own ability recharge. For example, if you use Deadeye first and then use Big Deal after, it will recharge in 7 seconds. If you just use Deadeye normally and don't use Big Deal afterwards, the cooldown for Deadeye is 15 seconds. So you have just saved yourself 8 seconds worth of time by using Big Deal after an ability. It cools down your pistol, Big Deal itself, and your Deadeye. So Finn is basically a recharge command for himself. Another reason to test out Finn because his abilities are so good and you can use them more frequently than other heroes. Now for next week I'm going to be testing if you can pull off a Revenge of the Sith maneuver by Anakin, and basically what he did, he spun around in his starfighter and had 2 proton torpedoes kind of like crash into each other.
Surge all power units R2, stand by, reverse thrusters. We got him, R2.
And I'm going to try this out. You can see I'm just giving an example of how I'm going to try this out, looking behind me and spinning around. I'm definitely going to try this out. But if you guys manage to do this, send a clip to me on my Twitter at RivaThames. I definitely want to see you guys' attempts at doing this to see if it's possible. I think this is probably going to be one of the hardest tests to do because you're going to have to fly in a straight line. And doing that, you know, in Starfighter Assault you can get taken down very easily. So I'm going to be trying this out all week to hopefully get a clip for it in next week. But if you guys get a clip for it as well, be sure to DM me on Twitter and let me know about it. I want to talk about Yoda, and with this is, you guys may know that when Yoda absorbs blaster fire, any kinds of force powers, he will charge up his Unleash to have extended range and damage. But this is also possible with friendly fire. Now just have one of your friends shoot you in the arm and you can charge up this by yourself. This is by far one of the best tactics for Yoda, as there is no disadvantage to it at all. You can literally have someone build off your own friends and then push to increase that. You don't have to physically push yourself up to an enemy and then absorb their blaster fire to get your Unleash at high level. Simply have someone playing with you to shoot you in the hands, and then you'll be able to use that as often as you can. Just imagine how powerful this would be in Heroes vs Villains, especially in Galactic Assault when there's a big room. You don't want to go in there and deflect everything, so you can just have someone shoot you in the hands and push forward. So that's it for this week's testing the Battlefront. Some I didn't include as I'm still getting clips, but I'll have them for next week for sure. We'll be looking at meleeing tanks, lightsabers, and maybe more food. Thanks for watching, leave a like if you enjoyed. It's been Riva, and I'll see you in the next video.